Hello my beautiful bookish people, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kendall and today I'm going to be doing my fall book haul. So these are all the books that I have picked up throughout the year, or maybe like a few weeks ago. Most of these I have accumulated throughout the year, and I'm just going to show you guys what they are. These all usually have fall vibes or something that is like spooky or paranormal or something that reminds me of the fall season. So I just wanted to go over books that I have received as gifts or that I went out and bought, but these are all books that I am so excited to get to. I know the probability of me getting through all of these this fall is very slim, but I do hope to at least make a good dent in this stack. But let's just go ahead and get into what we have. So first we're going to start off with the middle grade books that I have picked up. And I'm going to introduce you to the first two that are both by Lindsay Curry. I have Scritch Scratch, which I believe this one, I think this was her first book ever. No, it was not. I think her first book was The Peculiar Incident on Shady Street. But this one was written in 2020, and I think that this one looks really good. It takes place in Chicago. It's a haunted bus tour. I think the girl, her name is Hazel? No, Claire. Sorry. Claire, her dad gives these haunted bus tours, and she ends up seeing a boy ghost in the back of the bus, and nobody sees him, so that's how she finds out that it's a ghost. But I feel like this one is just going to be so eerie. The fact that it's a little girl who sees ghosts just sounds really, really insane and just kind of scary. So I'm excited to see what Lindsay Curry does. I have read a book by her. I've read What Lives in the Woods, and she tends to lean more towards heartwarming horror books, and I really, really like them. So I'm very excited about this one. I also pre-ordered this one as a birthday gift to myself because it actually came out on my birthday, and that one is It Found Us. I don't really know what this one is about, honestly. I just thought I saw the creepy cover with the little boy like with a smile, and it was just insane. But from what I understand, Hazel is the main character. She's a 12-year-old girl, and she loves solving mysteries. That's one thing that I love about Lindsay Curry's main characters, is that most of them love to solve mysteries, or there's some kind of sleuth personality within them. And so Hazel loves to solve mysteries, but I think this one is, it also follows her brother, whose name is Den, and Den and his friends want to do this like creepy fun game of hide and seek in a cemetery, and Hazel's like, this is a bad idea, really don't think we should be doing this. So Hazel follows them to make sure nothing happens, but obviously something does happen. One of Den's friends ends up not coming out when they're playing hide and go seek, and so they can't find him, and then these weird things start occurring. They start hearing strange noises and seeing strange things that don't make sense. And again, we just have a heartwarming horror tale, and this one just sounds so creepy. I do not know what the elephants are about, but I am excited to find out. Another one that I picked up that I have been dying to actually buy and read and just haven't yet is Ravenfall. This one is by Kaylin Josephson. I don't think I've ever read anything by her before, but this one sounds so good. It is a spooky middle grade, but it also has kind of fantasy elements in it. It says 13-year-old Anna has never been normal. Her family uses their psychic abilities to help run the Ravenfall Inn, a magical B&B between the human world and the other world. But it's hard to contribute when your only power is foreseeing death. So when 14-year-old Colin Pierce arrives at Ravenfall searching for his missing older brother, Anna jumps at the chance to help, but the mysteries tied to Colin go much deeper than either of them expect. So you have some psychics, you have these really creepy house, you have these two kids who are just trying to survive life. I love that we have like a raven and a little kitty on the cover, but It sounds really, really good to me. Again, there's like some sort of creature that's here, so I'm excited to see these two try and figure out what's going on. This one I picked up at my used bookstore. I had no idea this was even a thing, but I was doing some live reading sprints and somebody commented and said that they were reading this book and were absolutely loving it. And they said they got the recommendation from Desi, from Darling Desi, and that is Lockwood and Co. This is the first one in the series, called The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. I also got this for like $2 at my local used bookstore, and it's in great condition. I also love this cover of it, but it sounds right up my alley. So basically this is taking place in the city of London, and there are these creepy things that happen where you have young people having psychic abilities, and they are required to see and eradicate these supernatural things that are happening because adults cannot see them. And so we are following our main character, who is a girl character named Lucy, and she teams up with Anthony, who is the founder of Lockwood and Co, where they basically are this company that eradicates these supernatural forces. So they travel to the most haunted house in London, and they are going to try and survive and hopefully get rid of whatever it is that is taking over this mansion or house. But I'm super excited for it. It looks more like upper middle grade with how the writing style is and how much like bigger the book is than a normal middle grade. So I am excited to see what all the fuss is about this book. This one is a book that I but I was given to by Olivia. She had this one. I don't remember if she has read it before or if she hadn't read it and she just doesn't know if she's going to get to it, but I saw it and I immediately wanted it, and that is Thornhill by Pam Smee or Smye. I don't really know how you say the last name, but all it says is a lonely girl in a new town, a ghostly figure in the window, a derelict old house, and a mystery spanning the decades. So I love a good ghost story. I also really love a haunted house story. This cover is what drew me in. I think it's so unique and different, and this one has some pictures in it as well, along with, you know, of course there's writing and stuff, but I just feel like it's like half of a picture book mixed with a lot of text as well. So we're gonna see what it is. I haven't heard anything about it, but it looks dark and creepy, and I hope that it gives me those vibes when I pick this one up. Another one that I picked up is The Bellwoods Game by Celia Crampion. I have never read anything by her. This might be her debut novel, if I'm honest. I don't remember. It doesn't say, so I'm guessing that it's not, but this just looks super cute. There are some drawings in this one as well, like throughout the book, which is really cool. I also really love the inside of this book, like outside of the dust jacket. It has like an eye with the kids, and then the dust jacket is just, or you know, the book has like leaves and stuff on it. It's just super, super cute. So the town we're in is called Fall Hollow, and everybody thinks that this town is haunted. Apparently a little girl went into the woods during Halloween and she went missing and never returned. And so every year they have these things called the Bellwoods Games, where they choose 3 different, I think it's 6th graders? Yeah. 3 different 6th graders to go into the woods, and you have to ring this bell, and if the bell is never rung, you know, the kids go missing. Then it said that this really like haunted ghost or supernatural being is gonna come and wreak havoc on the town. But then our main character Bailey comes in, and she just wants things to be different. Her grandma's really sick, everybody at school doesn't like her, and so she wants to find out what actually happens when you ring this bell, because she has been told that the winner gets a wish. And so there's definitely something going on, but this one just screams fall to me. I feel like it's gonna give me the perfect like autumn cozy vibes, as well as that kind of spooky horror vibes that I love with my books. Okay, the next 2 that I have are some cozy mysteries, and I only got 2, but I'm so excited for both of them. The first one is the first in a series. It is the Witch City Mystery Series by Carol J. Perry, and this one is called Caught Dead-Handed. I love the look of this. It's just kind of classic Halloween with like this haunted house. You have a cat and this bats, and just the kind of font is just classic Halloween to me. But this one sounds super interesting and super different than anything I've read in a cozy mystery before. We're following our main character Lee, and she is returning to a city that she used to live in because there is this opening for a person on the news channel. But she finds out that the person or the job opening is a psychic, and it's kind of like a fake psychic on TV, but the person whose job she would be taking over ended up dying, and that's how she is going to get this job as playing a fake psychic on TV for this news station. And she's a little bit iffy about it, which I would be too. But while Lee is playing this part, she actually starts seeing these things happening in her crystal ball, and she's starting to wonder if the person who died and had this job before her really didn't see her own murder coming, or if she started practicing witchcraft and started getting into that. So there's just a lot to unpack in this one. But again, I love a good fall or Halloween inspired cozy mystery. The next one I have is the second in a series, so I really hope that I get to the first one. This one is A Trip with Trouble by Diane Kelly. It's part of the Mountain Lodge mystery series, and I was trying to remember what the first one is called. So I think that this one is going to be great for, again, those spooky autumn vibes. It says, when the ladies of the Dangerous Curves Motorcycle Club take over the Mountaintop Lodge for their annual autumn ride along the Blue Ridge Parkway, Misty Murphy couldn't be more thrilled. Every room is full, and the adventurous women even invite Misty and her assistant Bryn to join them on a ride to admire the colorful fall foliage. Hotel handyman Rocky Crowder is happy to keep an eye on the lodge for the day, and the ladies set out for a fun ride on the scenic road. But what starts as a perfect ride turns worrisome when the tail gunner, the last rider in the group, fails to show up at the Craggy Gardens overlook. Cell phone service is spotty in the remote mountainous area, and the group is unable to connect with their friend. Might the missing woman have simply run out of gas, or is something far more sinister afoot? So this one kind of sounds really cool because it has that aspect of you're traveling along a road and somebody goes missing, and I really love that aspect. I also love that this is taking place in the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I can perfectly imagine it in my mind. I just think it's going to be a really, again, a cozy fall murder mystery that I will definitely get into. Okay, the next category I have is just regular mystery thrillers, and we're going to be starting off with one. I think I bought this a little while back, basically when it first came out, and that is The Quiet Tenant by Clemence McCallan. Or McCallan? I don't know. I'm not very good with names, as we probably all know on this channel. But I really think this one is going to be a good read for me. It really sounds dark and kind of confusing, but that's typically how I like my mystery thrillers. But from what I understand, this is a psychological thriller that is following the lives of 3 women that have been influenced by a serial killer. We're following a woman that he has kidnapped, and she is having to go along and play as a part of the family. And we're also following his daughter and how she's been affected by, you know, the women he's brought around or the things he has done to these women. And we're also following this other woman who has met this guy and has a crush on him, and it's just going to be really wild. I feel like it's definitely going to be dark thriller, so I would highly recommend looking up content warnings before you get into this one. But I have heard quite a lot of good things about what this book is about, so I really want to give it a try. It reminds me of Notes on an Execution, which I also have to read, but I love that we are following victims instead of trying to get in the heads of the people that are hurting these victims. We're actually getting into the heads and seeing what these victims feel when they are under these situations. Another one that I have that I was given so kindly by my friends from church, Becklin and Frank, and it is called The House in the Pines by Anna Reyes. I have been wanting to get into this one. I just have been putting off buying it because I've heard kind of up and down things. I feel like this is one that people have either really loved or really not liked, but I want to give more mystery thrillers a chance based on what I think that I'll like. So this is definitely one that I was interested in getting. This one is another thriller where we have a girl who, her best friend died, and it was at the hands of this man, and the girl was with her. The girl that we're following was with her friend, but she has these gaps in her memories. She probably has PTSD. She's probably got her memories blocked to where she doesn't remember things because they were so traumatic for her. So again, this is another book that you probably want to look up some content warnings for. We're following Maya, and Maya remembers her best friend. This was like years ago that it happened, and so she goes back and she's going through, you know, these woods. She's going through different things that happened before her friend died, and she's trying to put things in these gaps in her brain where she cannot remember what's going on. And so things slowly start to come back to her, but I think we're probably like going on if she's gonna have enough time before she gets caught or something happens to her. So this one I feel like is gonna definitely get my heart racing. This next one I was so graciously and so thankfully given to by Biblio Lifestyle, and I also want to give a shout out to William Morrow's publishing house, because I was able to get a finished copy of Mother Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. This one sounds so good. If you're like me, you kind of like the murder mysteries and the cozy mysteries and thrillers in the fall time or when it starts getting colder. I feel like it just makes a thriller more thrilling. But this one is actually a Reese's Book Club pick, which I've had pretty good luck with my Reese's Book Club picks. So I have a feeling this is going to be good. From what I've heard, people have said that this can be compared to, if you think of Gilmore Girls and you think of Lorelai and Rory and Emily trying to solve a murder. Because you have it says a fun, fresh, and twisty whodunit about a grandmother, mother-daughter trio who come together as amateur sleuths to solve a murder in their coastal California town. And Jesse Q. Sutanto has blurbed this and said, as a reader, I inhaled this book hungrily, captivated by the truly delightful characters that Simon has created. How dare a debut be this good? So I'm super excited for that, and I'm super excited for the cover. I just want to kind of go into this blind and see what kind of time I have. The next one that I have is called The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I have recently heard a lot of people talking about this one, so I bit the bullet and bought it. But this one is really cool. It's kind of a whodunit, you know, one of those mysteries where you're trying to figure out, you know, who committed the murder, but it's written in mixed media format. So you have a lot of emails that are going back and forth. You have some text. You also get things that you do have some that are kind of text, but not text, but like actually written out prose. But it looks so good, and I feel like this will be one that you can fly through. But again, I just have yet to hear a bad thing about it, so I'm hoping that it holds up when I read it. The next book, I will say thank you to Rachel for getting me into, trying to get me into Ruth Ware, and I'm going to be reading The It Girl. I have read one book by her. I read The Turn of the Key, and I liked it. I just felt like it was missing something. And I have been nervous to pick up another Ruth Ware, but Rachel loved this one, and so I really, really want to pick it up and give it another try, just because I know a lot of people love Ruth Ware. I think what held me off about this one is that people compared it to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead, and I personally just didn't like it. But Rachel said that this was done a little bit better than what that one was done like. I think we get more like dark academia vibes. We get kind of, it says, haunting and absurdly suspenseful. This is diabolically clever. So I'm really excited to get into this one and see if it's what I was missing from In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. So we're following our main character, and she meets this group of friends at college, and they get really close and have their own, like, you know, tight group. But one of her best friends that's in the group as well ends up dead, and she just cannot fathom it. But this takes place years later after they have graduated, and the killer of the girl who was put into prison has died. And so I think that what's going to happen is all of their friends are getting back together, reconnecting, and, you know, thinking about the past, and they're going to discover that maybe it wasn't the person who was in prison that did this to their friend. So I think it's definitely a fun kind of vibe when you have a group of people and you're trying to figure out who did the crime. And it's especially cool when you have a friend group, because you want to know, you know your friends are trustworthy, or you hope that they are, but then you find out something like this, and I want to see if I can put together the pieces and solve the mystery before the end of the book. I also have 2 classics that I'm hoping to get to, but I don't know if I for sure will. But I have the Edgar Allan Poe Penguin Classics. This is The Fall of the House of Usher and Other Writings by him. The Fall of the House of Usher is a short story that he wrote, and it is becoming, or they're basing a TV show on Netflix from him, and it's the same director from The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor and different things like that. So I love that. I love all of those TV shows that he has directed, and when I heard that he was basing his next show off of an Edgar Allan Poe short story, I was like, okay, well, I have to read the short story first, because I've never read this specific one. This one also has the Telltale Heart, the Cast of Amontillado, which I have read both of those. It has the Pit and the Pendulum, and it has a bunch of different ones, and I thought that it would be nice to just pick up this book whenever I am in the mood to read it and just read a few of the short stories. I like that it's not something where you have to continuously read, and so I'm really looking forward to getting into this one and seeing which stories I like, which ones I don't like, or which ones I'm interested in even reading in the first place. And the next one was gifted to me on my birthday by my friend Elise, and it is this illustrated edition of Dracula by Bram Stoker. I really, really love this. It's like a felt type of feel. I love the silver foil writing on it. It even has bats on the spine, which I think is really cool, and spells out the name down the side. It does have like illustrations in the front of the book, and it even has them placed throughout the book as well. Here's one of the illustrations, if you can see it. It also has little bats in the headers. I just think it's going to be super good. I was nervous about getting into this one, but after I saw that there's a vampire horror movie coming out, I was like, okay, I have to finally read Dracula, because I know that it has something to do with it or relates to it in some way. And I was nervous because I feel like I get nervous with classics in general, because you never know what they're going to be like when you read them. But from what I've heard, this one is pretty easy to understand, and the writing is really nice. So I really, really want to try and get to this one soon. Okay, now we're going to go into the horror books that I have, which are quite a few. But we all know I am getting more into horror this year and just really enjoying them. One that I'm super, super excited for, this may be the one that I'm looking forward to the most, and that is Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. I recently started reading a Rachel Harrison book, and I really love her writing style, and I love the way that she does horror. So I'm excited to get into this one. From what I've heard, this is pretty much up there with Such Sharp Teeth as being her scariest out of her horror novels. But I think this one is following a cult, if I'm not mistaken. It says, nobody has a normal family, but Vesper writes is truly something else. Vesper left home at 18 and never looked back, mostly because she was told that leaving the staunchly religious community she grew up in meant she couldn't return. But then an envelope arrives on her doorstep. Inside is an invitation to the wedding of Vesper's beloved cousin Rosie. It is to be hosted at the family farm. Have they made an exception to the rule? It wouldn't be the first time Vesper's been given special treatment. Is the invite a sweet gesture, an olive branch, a trap? Doesn't matter. Something inside her insists she go to the wedding, even if it means returning to the toxic environment she escaped. Even if it means reuniting with her mother, Constance, a former horror film star and forever ice queen. So I'm so excited. My friend Rachel, also from Happy Go Lovely Sleeves, read this, and she still doesn't know what to think about it, and she, I think, is waiting for someone to talk to. But I have not read a cult horror novel before, so I'm excited to see what this one is like. Again, I really love Rachel Harrison's writing, and this one does sound darker, so you might want to make sure, again, to look up content warnings before you get into this. These next 2 books I got in a subscription box, or a subscription package. I got this for myself for my birthday. It is part of the Nightworms subscription package, and they do a thing every month. You can see what the theme of your package is going to be. You can keep it a secret, or you can spoil yourself and see what the 2 books are. But they always send you a new hardcover horror book and a probably a backlist paperback, and so I'm excited for these. And these are the two that I got. The first one, I knew I had to get it. It just was fate. So I got The Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. She is the author of The Hacienda, which I am hoping to read soon, but I definitely wanted this one. I have really grown to love vampires recently, and this one takes place in Texas, on the Texas-Mexico border, and it's a supernatural western type of horror, and I really want to see if that's something that is my thing. I know we have this, The Hacienda, and you also have books such as Lone Women that just came out, where it's western horror novels, and I used to love watching western movies and western TV shows growing up, and I obviously live in the South, so I grew up on that kind of stuff. So I'm interested to see kind of her take on it and get into it, because I've heard that she can get really dark and really creepy. And this one is the short novella paperback that was sent with it as well. It is called Wild Spaces by S.L. Coney, and this one actually takes place in South Carolina in the plains and wetlands. So I'm really excited about this. It's basically this little boy. He has his little best friend who is his dog, and he just walks around with his dog exploring, you know, South Carolina for what it is, and he just lives with his parents. But all of a sudden his grandfather, who he has never really met before, shows up, and his grandfather is just not right. Something is off with him. A lot of people say that this one reminds them of kind of Orson Welles, Ray Bradbury, with the sci-fi elements, and then you get horror mixed in, and I personally love Ray Bradbury, so I'm excited to see what this is going to do. And again, it's a really short read. You can read it within a day. I don't even think it's 200 pages. Let's see. Nope, it's 117. So again, a real quick, easy read, perfect for spooky season. The next one that I have is The Girl from Rawblood by Catriona Ward. I have read 2 Catriona Ward books now. I read Looking Glass Sound and The Last House on Needless Street. So this one is one I really want to get to. This is one of her backlist books, and they just reprinted it. I don't remember. This one first came out in 2015. So this is the 2023 cover of it. I really enjoy it. But this one is supposed to be a gothic haunted house type vibe, and I'm super excited for it. This book is really cool to me. It kind of reminds me of one of the children in the Haunting of Hill House. It reminds me of her story, and I won't say who because it's kind of a spoiler. This is about a girl and it's like a generational curse. The house that they live in has always been haunted, and her father warned her for, you know, years to never get married, to never fall in love, to just stay single, and everything would be okay. But she, you know, leaves this house and she wants to find love, and she finds it, and there are just a lot of consequences, and she ends up having to go back to this house to try and end whatever curse there is. Catriona Ward has a way to psych you out. I love to say that hers are psychological horror books, because most of the time they never make sense until the very end, and you just are questioning everything and everybody around you. But I absolutely love that in a book. The next one that I got is also another haunted house book and a family curse, and that is The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring. This book, I don't know, it just looks really creepy. And again, this is another one where it's like a psychological horror book, and apparently this one is based off of a Patagonian myth. So I also love that maybe some type of mythology is, you know, takes part in this. But I know people like Rory Power blurbed this saying it is exuberantly bizarre. It's like having the best time on its own and daring you to join in. So I'm really excited about it. It says, at the very southern tip of South America looms an isolated finishing school. Legend has it that the land will curse those who settle there. But for Mavi, a bold Buenos Aires native fleeing the military regime that took her mother, it offers an escape to a new life as a young teacher to the daughter of Argentina's elite. Mavi tries to embrace the strangeness of the imposing house, despite warnings not to roam at night, threats from an enigmatic young man, and rumors of mysterious others. But when students and teachers alike begin to behave as if possessed, the forces haunting this unholy cliff will no longer be ignored, and one of these spirits holds a secret that could unravel Mavi's existence. Sounds wild, sounds crazy, and just right up my alley. I also have these two books who are written by possibly one of my favorite authors of all time, and that is Grady Hendrix, and one of my good friends, Megan, from The Ginger Hobbit. And this one I really think will be cool. It's called We Sold Our Souls, and it takes place in the 1980s, and it also has a musical element involved, which I really love. It literally just says, only a girl with a guitar can save us all. So I really don't know much about this, but I do know that Grady Hendrix has a way of writing humorous horror novels that just have me buying every single one that he has and picking it up and reading it. And then I also bought Horrorstor by him. This one just kind of cracks me up with the look of it, because it looks like if you went into IKEA and asked them for a book that you needed to like explain like a manual or what the heck is happening. It literally just looks like that. But it also has these weird creepy hands coming out of this like dresser table type thing, so it looks kind of creepy. I've heard that this one isn't like the best thing ever, but again, it's a haunted house story, but it doesn't look like one, so I'm just curious. I literally bought this solely based on curiosity. The next one I have is episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. I have seen a few people reading this recently, and again, I have kind of new to the horror genre, and I'm dipping my toes into the darker horror, which this would probably be the perfect one, but everybody said that I need to pick it up, that I have not heard one bad thing about it. Everybody loves it, so I think this is going to be the one that I try and get to this October. In this book, we're following a husband and wife couple who have started this reality TV show of ghost hunting, and they go to stay in this house. It just says episode 13 takes them to every ghost hunter's holy grail, the Paranormal Research Foundation. So it says it's a mansion where a bunch of things happened in the 70s, and you know, they're wanting to see ghosts, they're wanting to do all this, but I think, you know, things start happening that they did not anticipate. And I love movies that kind of do this thing where I feel like when I watch or when I read this book, I'm going to be imagining that we are seeing them as where a camera is following, and I just love those kinds of horror movies. So this one, I have high expectations and high hopes for it, so let's hope that this lives up to them. The next one I have is Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. I do own a book by Darcy Coates, but I have yet to read one by her. I own From Below, but since that one has more of a water themed type of plot, I wanted to save that one for summer or spring, so I wanted to get one that has darker vibes so that I could probably read it in the fall time and still enjoy it, but get the atmosphere feeling of, you know, being in the story in a way. I don't really want to be in the horror story, but you know, we're following this specific family. Their last names are Hull, and they live in this house, and they have this successful winery. You know, they sell, like, they're rich, they just make good money, but then they go into their house, and then all of a sudden they find them dead the next morning, and townspeople start saying that this curse has awoken, and that, you know, nobody is to go near Gallows Hill or near the whole house or anything like that. So then we follow Margot, who was the daughter of this couple that died in this house, and she is going back to this house because she just wants some answers from what happened once her parents died and she was sent away. It kind of reminds me of Home Before Dark in the fact that the parents are dead and the children are coming back to this house to solve or get answers for what happened when they were younger. But I loved Home Before Dark, so I'm hoping that even if this one doesn't live up to, you know, that book, that it's still so good and so creepy and eerie and everything I'm hoping that it will be. Okay, the next books I have are romance books. I was gifted these by my patrons and by two really beautiful friends of mine. The first one is Paybacks of Witch by Lena Harper. I want to say thank you to Rebecca for giving me this book. I really appreciate it. This one says it's a sexy, funny, charming romp of a novel that scratches the witchy autumnal itch just right. And that's blurbed by Emily Henry, so you know that's saying much. I didn't realize that this is a series that has like 4 books out already, so I definitely want to try and prioritize reading this one as soon as possible. To me, it kind of sounds like a just witchy rom-com type of novel, but I'm hoping, you know, I'm one of those people that like a little bit more plot with my novel, so I'm hoping that this one lives up to like the Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez type of hype, because that's where my standards lie. The next one I have is How to Find Love in a Bookshop by Veronica Henry. Thank you, Heather, to sending me this book. I don't know who I saw reading this, but as soon as I saw this beautiful orange red cover and obviously a red female main character, I immediately put it on my Amazon wish list and made sure that I was going to get it before the fall time came, because again, it's a really short read and just looks super cute and down to earth. So I'm very excited to get to this one. It says, Nightingale Books, nestled on the main street of an idyllic little village, is a dream come true for book lovers. But owner Amelia Nightingale is struggling to keep the shop open after her beloved father's death, and the temptation to sell is getting stronger. The property developers are circling, yet Amelia's loyal customers have become like family. For them, the shop is much more than what's on its shelves. It's a place of romance, long-held secrets, and unexpected hopes for the future. I just love that we're following a woman who works in a bookstore, and we're also getting to see her interact with customers, see what books mean to her, what books mean to her customers, and obviously I think we're going to have a little bit of a romance going on between these two here. These next ones that I have are some graphic novels that I've been saving up. Some of these I've had for a little while now, but I, again, have just been waiting for the right time to read them, and fall seems like that time. The first one I have is Ceces Journal Volume 1. This is written by Joris Chamberlain and Aurelie Neyret. I think this one is translated from French, if I'm not mistaken, but it's so cute. We're following Cici, who wants to be a writer, and the drawings in here just scream fall to me in a way that some graphic novels do not. Like, look at this. Just look how pretty. I'm obsessed. But I think there's a mystery that comes about, and Cici and her friends are trying to solve it. But again, Cici is like this great novelist. She wants to write books, and I'm sure she takes along her notebook and everything with her. I think it's so, so cute, and I cannot wait to get to it. The next one I have is 1 Year at Ellsmere by Faith Erin Hicks. I read Pumpkinheads by the same author, and that one was a young adult graphic novel. This one is a middle grade graphic novel. I really love the look of this because it's kind of, I don't want to bend it too much, but you see how it's like a school. Oh, it just looks so cute. Again, we have these dark colors that kind of remind me of fall time, but we're following our main character Juniper, which I love that name, but she's going to this boarding school, and which again is called Ellsmere, and she is already getting picked on, but there is also like this weird supernatural thing that's going on, you know, paranormal aspect. So I'm excited to see how much I like this one compared to Pumpkinheads. These next two I was gifted by my friend Gabby over at Gabbing About Books. She sent me Sourceline Book 2. This one is another graphic novel that is translated from French. So the second one just came out, and I think they are working on translating the third one. I love the artwork in this. I think it's gorgeous. It's just done so well. It may be probably my favorite artwork that I've ever seen in a graphic novel. I won't go into much detail about what this one is about, but Sorceline basically is going to this school where she is learning cryptozoology. So she is studying animals that are mythical creatures, and she got up to a lot of ruckus in the first one, obviously, and we are still following her in this one, but you get to meet a bunch of like cute characters, and there's always like a really good mystery. I just was shocked that I loved the story as much as I did. The next one that Gabby sent me is Enola Holmes, the graphic novel, Book 2. This one contains books, or the Enola Holmes book series, numbers 3 through 6, or 4 through 6. The first graphic novel has the first 3 Enola Holmes books as graphic novels, and this one, again, like I said, is book 4, 5, and 6. I love the style of artwork in here, and I love that you get things like this where you have the graphic novel, and then you have different things where you're like solving a mystery with Enola. But these are more of Enola gets, you know, caught up in this mystery and she's trying to solve it. As all of you probably know, Enola Holmes is Sherlock Holmes' little sister, and it's just so cute because you have her 2 older brothers that are trying to look out for her and want her to stay out of trouble, but Enola does anything but that. I picked this one up while I was in Washington, and I think me and all the girls picked it up as well, and that is Little Witches, Magic in Concord by Lee Dragoon. This is basically a Little Women retelling, but it's a witchy Little Women retelling. I am not gonna lie, the cover is what drew me in on this. If you put teal and gold together on a book, I'm more than likely gonna buy it. But I think one of the things that I think is most interesting about this book is that Lori is playing a witch hunter, and I'm assuming all the Little Women are witches, so I just think it's going to be a really fun read. Again, kind of spooky, but also kind of, you know, cute. So, cannot wait to read this once the special November, end of October, beginning of November time comes around. This one I randomly found at my used bookstore, and I haven't really heard anybody talk about it, but I have seen this multiple times before, and I'm just curious as to what I would think about it. And that is A Heartless Prince by Angela DeVito and Lee Dragoon. So it's the same author from the Little Witches series. This one, I don't really know what it's about, to be honest. I just really love the cover of it, and there's like this really creepy creature on the back as well. But I think that it's got some really cool illustrations. Again, I just really like this author's artwork. But this one says, Evany is an orphaned princess from a kingdom destroyed by a power-hungry witch. Prince Aemon has become drawn to her, or at least he's drawn to her uncanny ability to sense when familiars, servants to the witches, are approaching his kingdom's borders. And Evany, while Evany has always longed for something more with Aemon, wanting to prove himself to his kingdom and parents, Aemon takes Evany outside the borders to fight the familiars face to face. All is well until they're captured by the witch Aradia, who steals Aemon's heart and leaves his body to turn into one of her familiars. What's worse, his sister Nissa has been taken hostage by Aradia's daughter. Evany makes it her mission to retrieve Aemon's heart and save Nissa, taking her into the mysterious Witchlands. There she will discover a secret about her past that will change everything. This one sounds like a very high stakes, really complicated storyline with like the sister going missing and Aemon having his heart taken. So I am very interested again to see how this one is, but it sounds so good. The next category of books that I have is my adult fantasy books that I have recently purchased again for this fall season. The first one was sent to me by another patron and beautiful friend of mine, Shanice, and she sent me The House Witch. I do not know how to say this last name, but I have recently gotten into some cozy fantasy, and I read Legends and Lattes last year and absolutely loved it, and I just want to read more. I want to read fantasy that doesn't take a lot of brain work and just makes me enjoy it and have a good time. Also love that we have like a cat here in the corner. That's how you sell me. This one says it has fantasy, romance, mystery, and humor blended into it. So I'm really excited for it. We're following Finn, who is our main character, and he gets hired by the royal family to cook, and that is just what he wants to do all the time. He loves cooking, he loves making food, and it's the cutest thing ever. A chef. And it just sounds so funny and cute. It says Finn finds himself involved in a slew of intrigues. Obviously his powers are kind of coming out and people are like, oh, you're a witch, huh? And he's like, oh, maybe. But he's going head to head with knights. He's helping protect the pregnant queen, fending off the ire of the royal mage, and uncovering a spy in the castle. And that's only the beginning, because Finn's past is catching up with him just as his love life is getting complicated. Says it has fascinating characters, delicious cuisines, cuddly companions, magical house hijinks, and won't they relationships. So I think it sounds really cute. Again, I just want a book where I can get into some fantasy that I really enjoy, but not have to think so hard about world building or character building and different things, and just enjoy what I'm reading. I'm definitely getting into my fantasy era again. I always love fantasy, but I feel like the past 2 years with reading and doing YouTube and different things, I have been trying to have more of a variety of what I read. So I'm getting into different genres, trying to, you know, broaden my horizons. But really, I need to come home. I need to come home to fantasy. I have been putting off reading fantasy just because I have read it for so long. But there's so many good things coming out. I've been putting off buying this book because it is $30 everywhere. But I found this at my local used bookstore and it was only $18 and it's in great condition. And that is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. We all know me and Sandy have kind of a weird relationship. I want to love his books because I do love the way that he writes, but when I read Mistborn, I just could not. I ended up reading about 65-ish% and I had to give up. I just literally could not keep reading. But I'm hoping that this one is going to be different. This is supposed to be a retelling of The Princess Bride, which I love. I also love how pretty the inside cover is. And it just, oh, it's so gorgeous. But I love any book that has to deal with pirates, which this one does. And it was also, he wrote it for his wife, which I love. And I've just heard really good things about this. I'm hoping it's more of a cozy fantasy type feel like the other book that I got is. Another book that I recently got is Don't Tell a Soul by Kirsten Miller. I've never read anything by this author before. It says all Bram wants to do is disappear from her old life, from her family's past, and from the scandal that continues to haunt her. The only people left to go is Luth, the tiny town on the Hudson River where her uncle James has been renovating an old mansion. But James is haunted by his own ghosts. Months ago, his beloved wife died in a fire that people say was set by her daughter. The tragedy has left James a shell of the man Bram knew and destroyed half of the house he has so lovingly restored. The manor is creepy and so are the locals. The people of Luth don't want outsiders like Bram in their town, and with each passing day she's discovering that the rumors they spread are just as disturbing as the secrets they hide. Most frightening of all are the legends they tell about the dead girls. Girls whose lives were cut short in the very house Bram now calls home. I just really am intrigued by the synopsis of this book, and I just love a good ghost story. The next one I have is by Kate Alice Marshall. I read the Rules for Vanishing last year and loved it, and this is her newest book, and that is The Narrow, which again, super excited to read this one. I really love how she writes stories. She does young adult horror, which I love, and this one is taking place at an academy, and there's like this really weird river that runs by it. Things have happened, but she just has a way of writing characters that you get attached to, and then writing them, like just writing creepy stories. I highly recommend like audiobooks when you listen to her, because whoever narrates her audiobooks makes them extra creepy as well. And the last young adult horror book that I have is Clowns in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. I am super excited about this one. I was also gifted this by Rebecca, and thank you so much for it, but apparently it's just crazy. There are like these kids running wild. There's obviously a clown in a cornfield. I just am so excited. I used to hate clowns, and I used to love going into haunted mazes that had, you know, in cornfields. And so I kind of am nervous, but it is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And so I'm like, give me another good clown story. And again, this has just been like, everybody who's reading this is loving it. So I have to get into it. Okay, these last books are my young adult fantasy novels. Most of these just give me fall vibes. The first one is The Scarlet Veil by Shelby Mahurin. I am not going to get into this one right now, just because I have heard that if you read the synopsis or get into The Scarlet Veil, it will spoil the ending to the trilogy before this one. You do not have to read Serpent and Dove, that trilogy, before you read this one, but if you want to know more about the characters or more about the universe, I would do that. It's kind of like this is Six of Crows, and the Shadow and Bone series is Serpent and Dove. So again, they're standalone series, but it would probably help you out if you read both of them at once. So I have yet to read Gods and Monsters, which is the third book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy. So I want to read that before I get into this one. All I know is that there are vampires in this. We are following two characters from the Serpent and Dove, like I said, trilogy and world. So I'm very excited about it. I don't really love the female main character in the trilogy, so I'm wondering how I'm gonna like her in this book. But again, you give me vampires, anything written by Shelby Mahern, and I will read it. I'm also obsessed with how beautiful this one is. It's got like pink flowers and roses, and then this pretty rose gold foiling on the front and side. So you already know I'm gonna love it. This book I ran out and grabbed literally after I finished the first in the series. This is the second one, and it is A Foxglove by Adeline Grace. The first one is Belladonna. I read that one literally this month and absolutely fell in love with it. It's a gothic, dark story with, it's not necessarily witches, but this girl can talk to death, and she can kind of bargain with him for people's lives, different things. She just has different type of powers than most people have. You get this nice gothic romantasy type feel from the books, and the first book, Belladonna, left off on kind of a cliffhanger, and so I needed to go out and buy this one immediately. Again, I'm all about these books right now coming out with beautiful covers that are actually on the book, not just the dust jackets. So all I know is that we had a really good cliffhanger in Belladonna, and I am anxiously awaiting for the day that I pick up Foxglove. And the last book is also gifted to me by my friend Becca, and it is A Multitude of Dreams by Mara Rutherford. I have never read anything by this author before, but Aaron A. Craig said this is dripping with bloody opulence. Rebecca Ross said it's a spell-binding tale woven with horror and hope. And Allison Saft said you will be lured into the rotten opulence of Eldridge Hall and you won't ever want to leave. This is supposed to have Edgar Allan Poe vibes, and I'm super excited for it, obviously, because we have the raven sitting right here on her shoulder. But it says, the bloody plague is finally past, but what fresh horror lies in its wake? Princess Imogen of Goslin has lived a sheltered life for 3 years at the boarded-up castle, she and the rest of its inhabitants safe from the bloody Moriroa plague that's ravaged the kingdom. But Princess Imogen has a secret, and as King Stuart descends further into madness, it's at great risk of being revealed. Rations dwindle each day, and unhappy murmurings threaten to crack the facade of the years-long charade being played within the castle walls. Nico Mott once enjoyed a comfortable life of status, but the plague took everyone and everything from him. If not for the generosity of a nearby lord, Nico may not have survived the Moriroha's aftermath. But does owing Lord Crane his life mean he owes him his silence? When Lord Crane sends Nico to search for more plague survivors in the castle, Nico collides with a princess who wants to break out. They will each have to navigate the web of lives they've woven if they're going to survive the nightmares ahead. I feel like this one is just going to be creepy and dark because obviously there's a plague, but I'm just so excited. When I have people like Rebecca Ross and Aaron A. Craig, who are some of my favorite young adult authors, blurb books, it just makes me want to pick them up even more. So those are all the books that I picked up. I know it's a lot. I know. I really do, and I'm very sorry, but hopefully you were able to find some books. If you don't know what you're going to be reading this fall, hopefully this helped you pick out some books, or if you just wanted to go out and buy some. But I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video, and I hope you come back, and thank you for supporting my channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.